gonna watch a Odd Header video. Really like this guy's channel. And all like stuffed up all of a sudden.
As we find something in a video game that makes you think, no, we're done here. In the spirit of Halloween,
Did I think? Oh no.
The top 8 creepiest, most hauntingly bizarre discoveries ever found in a video game. Brought to you by Dashlane. The Witcher 3. Thanks to my friend Jamis on my Discord server for sparking off this still unraveling mystery in The Witcher 3, which began when she was playing the quest Tower of Mice and suddenly she heard this creepy disembodied voice.
Creepy.
After searching the tower for some time without finding any clues, Jamis and I just chalked it up as being nothing more than a strange one-off occurrence. However, only a month later, the mystery opened up even further when another member on my Discord server, Lucid Avidity, posted that if they stood in this exact spot in the same tower, this mysterious figure could be seen for a split second in the distance.
Huh.
Now this is where
which Witcher is this? Is this Witcher 2?
I asked my good friend
or is this
Robert
Witcher 3?
to investigate this one with me. And to both of our surprise, Robert was indeed able to recreate the ominous figure in the distance, which would instantly disappear the moment he tried to move closer.
That's pretty cool.
With some quick thinking in The Witcher 3's NVIDIA Ansel support, Robert was able to increase the sharpness and get a better look using Ansel's photo mode, but still couldn't get a really clear picture.
Oh, it looks like the fucking jaws
drooping.
drooping.
Geralt near the figure's position with a torch, and then use the depth of field to pull the camera back to trigger the figure, and then zoom in for a closer look.
What the fuck?
To our absolute surprise, we found a
it's like fully modeled, yeah.
Impossibly tall, very bizarrely textured female figure. I mean, just look at this thing's face. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Robert even managed to get a good look.
I wonder what the fuck it was supposed to be.
And damn. Yeah, it's really weird it'd be modeled like that. Everyone we've asked
it's a mummy.
has been completely clueless about the monstrosity. Who or what is this thing supposed to be, and what purpose does it serve?
Yeah, I can see that. That's gonna look mummified.
At this point, we can only assume
but the hair is mummified looking.
The curious player willing to
it's like a
good luck to whoever
texture all over the entire body.
Robert, we're low-key shitting ourselves the whole time we were looking into this. Steam. Earlier this year, unique user posted on Reddit he walked away from
Maybe, yeah, like a statue maybe.
Back,
wooden
could hear these
wax maybe.
nightmare sounds emitting from the application.
What?
Somehow the Steam music player had opened, which
I've had this happen before.
And it was playing only these 5 random sound effects he never saw before. In response on Reddit, it turned out a number of other Steamers had came forward saying they too had experienced strange audio emitting randomly from Steam, such as this YouTuber who opened up Steam and found himself getting a history lesson as he was played a long speech by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Observant Redditors were able to determine that the audio were sound effects from Amnesia: The Dark Ascent, despite the fact that most of those who experienced the issue never even had Amnesia installed. No one knows.
I don't even own the game.
Triggering the Amnesia sound effects, if it's just a
that's funny.
User error. But if this
that's
is
pretty
some
creepy.
Sort of trick by Valve to drive us crazy, haven't you done enough with Half-Life 3? Army Men. Sarge's Heroes.
Love these games. Fucking love Army Men.
Discord server, user Sizable Door made mention of a disturbing image in Army Men Sarge's Heroes he found as a child that's been bugging him for nearly 20 years. Unfortunately, nobody on the server was ever able to find it for him, until finally a couple months ago, Sizable was able to finally find the unshakable image himself. How he managed to find this thing in the first place.
Yeah, I remember all these games being pretty legit.
Never know. But when he finally found the exact spot he crawled under,
yeah, Steam is a media player.
Mission. Oh God.
What the fuck?
Ew. I can't stand to look at this any longer. Let's move on. NBA Jam. NBA Jam is a bit of a gold mine when it comes to odd discoveries, having been featured on the channel before for its odd battle tank mode, as well as having a ton of leftover content in its data that was rejected by the NBA themselves. Even more of which surfaced in the leaked XXX internal development
called Odd Header,
obtained and dumped by Nintendo Player in 2016. And no, I'm not making that up.
There's a lot of
However,
dumb secrets about
Game's
NBA
most
Jam.
startling discovery is one
You could
that
be like
actually
Bill
made it
Clinton.
into the game. With players reporting shortly after release, the game would start shouting the name Petrovic over and over at random. And Petrovic was actually an NBA player that had died in a car accident that same year. Expectedly, this was largely passed off as a hoax, until an interview with developer Mark Turmel with ESPN confirmed that the creepy occurrence was real. One night we were playing Mortal Kombat, and there was a jam machine next to it, and all of a sudden the game started calling out Petrovic, Petrovic. And this only happened
NBA
after
Jam is
Petrovic
pretty
had
sick.
died. Everyone started freaking out. Something weird was going on with the software, and to this day, if you have an original NBA Jam machine, every once in a while it would just yell out Petrovic.
What?
While it goes without saying this was just a bug, why the error singled out Petrovic over any other player and was only noticed after Petrovic's real-life death makes it freakishly coincidental,
From downtown.
making it perhaps the most convincing example of a haunted arcade cabinet to ever exist. And for those of you that are saying, what about the legendary Polybius that notoriously killed players in the arcade? That's not real.
Get that out of here!
Carnival. Midway's most successful arcade game, though many would guess is Mortal Kombat, was actually the standalone graphic light shooter 1998's Carnival. Released on Halloween of that year, players had to shoot through a haunted carnival, shooting down surreal and creepy enemies.
Yeah, I never
such
played
as
this.
conjoined
I hear a lot of
twins,
people like it though.
a literal spider monkey, and a baby. A move the developers were so sure would court controversy, they included a switch on the arcade cabinet so arcade owners could swap the baby on the fly with a teddy bear if anybody complained.
That's funny.
Strangely, no one cared. The most disturbing image in
It's
all
like
of Carnival
a lot
actually comes
of
in the
extra
form of
work.
an image mysteriously repeated over and over in the game data in lots of different sizes, which happens to be this deeply unsettling image of notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer holding a bloody bag with Midway Games CEO Neil Nicastro's head. Hopefully this was just an inside joke among
It reminds me of that South Park episode
aware of.
with
But considering
fucking
someone
Dahmer and all the other
painstakingly
serial
exported
killers.
the same image over and over in the game in lots of different sizes.
And the Three
Constantly
Stooges.
Looking over my shoulder if I was Nicastro. Middle Earth, Shadow of War. In March of this year, IGN's walkthrough editor Brendan Graber decided to replay Middle Earth Shadow of War after beating it a couple years ago for his walkthrough of the game.
Can never get into
In
these.
Shadow of War, the player befriends an orc named Bruce, who you can probably tell just from looking at him is not going to be your friend for very long.
Right load, dot load. Same thing, really.
Once the tables turn, Brendan repeatedly shamed Bruce over and over, a mechanic that levels down your opponent as well as wear the enemy's psychological stability over time. Over time, Bruce retaliated as a relentlessly unstable, overpowered level 40 machine. But Brendan decided if he was going to stream the game for his friends, he should start a new save and completely wipe the game file along with Bruce in it. Just as Brendan was completing the initial training of his new game, Brennan's heart dropped as he was suddenly thrown into an encounter well before he was equipped or ready for a battle. When suddenly he saw the same exact level 40 Bruce from Brennan's now deleted
What
save
the
game,
fuck?
somehow appearing now in his entirely new game, appearing hours before he was even supposed to appear in the story. This time in a strange glitched state where Bruce could only
That is
let out
kinda
breathing
weird.
growls instead of having a normal speaking voice. Bruce somehow defied deletion, and his seemingly hell-bent act of unbridled vengeance was now after Brendan in a completely
It's like the
new
fucking
game
plot to
file.
some fucking
Eventually, Brendan escaped Bruce, checking his map to find Bruce
like
was now
fucking
somewhere out
Disney
of
movie.
bounds, meaning he was beginning to learn how to become smarter than the game itself. Eventually, Brendan came to the point in the game where Bruce actually appears in the story. And much to his relief, the actual Bruce appeared and not the AI monstrosity reaping terror across the outer reaches of Middle-earth. After recruiting Bruce to his team, all seemed back to normal again, until Brendan took a look at the remaining orc army and saw the shadowy level 40 monstrosity still standing there, meaning the fellow was still hiding somewhere on the map, waiting to strike Brennan when he was least expecting.
Is this the first one or second one of these? There's two of them, right?
Save file since.
Or is there only one?
Cam drone. During PAX 2013, hidden in a corner of the Indie Mega booth, journalists and convention goers noticed a random CRT monitor covered in blood that would occasionally display some truly disturbing imagery. The booth's attendee, Rami Ismail, told journalists that he had no idea who set it up, that he was only being paid to keep an eye on all the booths in the Indie Mega booth. Website 4Player Network did some sleuthing and found a domain camdrone.com registered by Edmund McMillan.
Yeah, wasn't this thing?
Notoriously difficult indie hit Super Meat Boy. Edmund denied working on the game, stating, "We aren't involved in making Camdrone. We know the dev who is making it and have been helping. We don't know that much about the project other than the booth setup." Shortly after, someone claiming they were Camdrone's creators sent Eurogamer a message with a code that's still been unsolved to this day. Only a few months ago, Edmund was tweeted what he knew about the game and said, "Camdrone was boxed up and placed inside a wall years ago. It was recently rediscovered the film had been damaged by time. No idea what will come of it. Whatever the hell that meant and what Camdrone actually is supposed to be is still a mystery."
Oh, it's that guy.
Final Fantasy XIV.
Oh, that guy.
Thanks to Spooky Scary Radiance for submitting this mystery to me on my Discord server. 2013's Final Fantasy XIV is the second massively multiplayer installment in the series, an unwaveringly well-received online experience, still going strong with its recently released Shadowbringers expansion. Well, that's what Square Enix wants you to think. As
Badlands Chug.
Final Fantasy XIV is actually a complete do-over of 2011's Final Fantasy XIV, a release that was such a notorious mess that Square shut the whole thing down and created a whole nother game to forget about the embarrassing mishap. And while that's definitely proven to have been the right decision, a number of mysteries were left unresolved on the game's original server that's left players such as Speaker's Network continuing to poke around in the original game. One such mystery was a hidden cave in Anorcia, hidden in a random spot in the mountains of Kurthis. In the original game, a non-player character could be found blocking the entrance saying, "I've been given specific orders to prohibit all access to the Fez using all necessary force. If you value your life, unbeliever, I suggest you withdraw at once." Kind of extreme, but especially disturbing when you consider that Fez is actually the French word for ass cheeks. With the use of third-party software in a private server of the original game, Speakers was able to perform a colonoscopy and entered the Fez, which appeared to be nothing more than an endless cavern that descended further and further underground. The cavern twisted and turned with many branching paths in clearly unfinished areas.
That is kind of cool.
It wasn't long before Speakers became completely lost. Speakers decided to
Yo,
take a
Sphinx.
pause
What's up, dude? Thanks for the raid, man.
Down his spine as he
Just
heard
watching
a
some
second set of footsteps gradually
videos
nearing him
for a
from
minute.
behind, which rightfully prompted Speakers to
Is
get
that-
the out of
That
there.
your raid message
Frantically
today?
Continuing further
Interesting.
through the cavern, the footsteps continued to get faster and faster until Speakers finally found a door unlike any other, hoping it was finally an escape out, until he reached the unfinished end of the abyss. Fortunately, no creature or anything of the sort.
I thought that was a
ever came
face for a
grab him.
second.
But when Speakers played the footage back later on, he noticed something odd that he didn't see before. Slowing the footage down, we can see when Speakers.
This channel's called Odd Header.
Into the Fez.
Like a bunch of like
Mysterious
secrets
odd head can be seen floating around in the distance.
and like
before
Easter
vanishing,
eggs.
never to be seen again. While the odd head was most likely
some
the source
random.
of the mysterious
Oh, that's a face.
footsteps,
Yo, you see that
what triggered
face?
the head is still a mystery. As what triggered the head's footsteps.
Right here.
The source.
It's fucking clearly a face, right? That's all good. What's going on, everybody? It's like a baby's head or something. The fuck is that?
To the mysterious footsteps. What triggered the head is still a mystery.
That's not what they're
Finally
talking
escaped
about, right?
out, until he reached the unfinished end of the abyss. Fortunately, no creature or anything of the sort ever came to grab him. But when Speakers played the footage back later on, he noticed something odd that he didn't see before.
Talk about the glowing
Slowing
head,
the
right?
footage down, we can see when Speakers spun the camera back into the Fez. A mysterious odd head can be seen floating around in the distance.
Yep, something completely different.
Vanishing never to be seen again. While the odd head was most likely the source of the mysterious footsteps, what triggered the head is still a mystery, as when Speakers went through a second time he couldn't get it to trigger again. If anyone's willing to solve this mystery any further, you never
No.
know what will turn up next in these ass cheeks. Just as many of these
Yeah, you heard
developers
him.
never wanted any of these discoveries to be found, you may be just as concerned of your own sensitive materials being discovered.
Like
in
out
the
of
gaming
context,
world.
it's like,
Don't
what?
forget that Gears of War 3 leaked in 2010 because a couple of teens hacked in Epic Games servers, using the opportunity
remember
to
that.
make fun of the fact that game director Cliffy B had folders and folders of Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus music on his computer, which may be why you'll want to save yourself from the same embarrassment with the extra level of security that Dashlane provides. Dashlane can be your one-stop shop.
That was a pretty,
by managing all your passwords so that
pretty
you
clever little ad pitch. Yeah, anyone who's just coming in from Sphinx's raid channel's called Odd Header, which is like video game mysteries and stuff like that. Some of these have like major spoilers in them. That's why I don't want to watch all of these. It looks kind of
minus worlds, out of bounds geography, and whatever the hell this was supposed to be. Thanks to the many areas I found out about since the last video in this series. Today we're diving into the 10 strangest, most confusing areas in video games that we were never supposed to find. Part 2. Or Part 3. Guild Wars 2. In the massively multiplayer online RPG Guild Wars 2, players found at Caduceus's manor they were to glitch to the other side of this portal to leave the area. They could find a large open terrain away from the playable environment.
Sleazy.
Once they made their way to the far ends of the
Yeezy.
terrain, they discovered a strange structure out of bounds sitting in the distance. Inside was a strange room with these creepy odd heads that would irritate
I
either
remember
player
this.
anywhere they stood. In the center of the room was a strange orb that when interacted with would... Whoa.
That's fucking awesome. I love that.
The strangest discovery of all, though, was that players could find a cat sitting in the ceiling of the room.
What?
Wait, what? Guild Wars 2 level designer Josh Foreman commented on one of the YouTube videos of the area and said, "Don't look. We haven't got that part online yet. My boss will be pissed if he sees this since I sculpted the heads to look like him."
Oh my
yeah,
god.
It's not a flattering look. Sounds like this would have been a good one for Easter eggs that got people fired. Later, another environment appeared that resembled this location, but with the boss's characteristics and the original spot's more curious features seemingly removed. While it's a mystery if Foreman's boss ever caught wind of the original caricature, and if Foreman still got to keep his job, the greater question is, what the f was with the cat? Final Fantasy 15. In Final Fantasy 15, there's a brief moment where you leave this train in Nephilim to go out on the
I remember
tracks
this
during
part.
the night, where you have a small chance to see a fallen form of Shiva in the distance.
This is actually fucking sick to me. I love that it's just like a giant.
Various giantess characters that can be summoned during battle in every Final Fantasy game. And for
Fucking,
some
like-
reason that I can't place my finger on, getting out of bounds in this small area has ended up becoming one of the most popular out of bounds locations in a video game that I've ever seen.
Isn't she like
Some
naked
players
though?
even going as far to change the lighting of the area from night to day. I assume to get a better look at the views? Huh, I can't figure out why players are so obsessed with this area.
Oh thank god.
And now, more fan service. Bayonetta 2. Sort of like Shiva, Bayonetta is a scantily clad sorceress thrown into an inexplicable adventure that mostly makes you think, only in Japan. YouTuber Yoshi's found an interesting
gotta play
area
Bayonetta one of
we
these
weren't
days.
supposed to find by using an exploit nicknamed the Witch Twist, which is essentially an infinite jump
Yeah, you
glitch
got
that
Google.
raises you upwards by repeating a precise pattern of combinations. After climbing upwards enough, eventually Bayonetta will stand in this completely disorienting position. Sequence breaking forward, you can make your way upwards to this door and find what I assume to be the inside of Jerry Garcia's mind. Wow. Holy sh**. By the way, if you're
That's
prone to
sick.
epilepsy, you might want to skip this part. Oh my god. Only in Bayonetta would
This
all
happens in a
visuals
lot of
like
games,
this
though, doesn't it?
fucking Crazy. Advent Rising. Advent Rising is a game that came out when every game was touting
Advent
itself
Rising.
as the next Halo killer. It wasn't.
I
Which
don't
turned away
know if I know what this
publisher
game even
Majesco
is.
from going forward with its ambitious plans of a trilogy, as well as their elaborate plans involving the first title itself. One of these rumored plans was said to involve this door that never opens on Chapter 5F, which players can now get to the other side of thanks to
I've never heard of
console
this.
command exploit found by YouTuber Duke Sets. On the other side of the door, you can find this intriguing
long
area
legs
with this really interesting animation that goes completely unseen from the normal game. The common theory
Like Harry
for this area
Mason.
is that it was part of a notorious canceled Easter egg contest that was
Anatomy.
promoted with Advent Rising, in which players could find Easter eggs in the game for a chance at $1 million. Unfortunately, the contest was swiftly and quietly canned when Majesco claimed that there was no fair way for anyone to win the contest on account of data miners going through the game. Damn it, data miners! Really though, I think it had more to do with the game just not meeting sales,
Nah, dude.
and them probably not just
Shiva
having
in
$1
Final
million
Fantasy
to
VII
just
is way
toss
hotter.
away. Counter-Strike source. Thanks to many people such as Rugs Last who brought this one to my attention. On the map CS Assault, if you were to no-clip through this exact spot and travel underneath the map, you can find this room with a boot in it, which disappears when shot at. What? This one makes no sense to me.
I don't think I've ever seen
I
that
don't know,
before.
Maybe this was for scaling, or I can't even see that. I can't say it had anything to do with a scripted event.
I know there's a bunch in
multiplayer
Counter-Strike,
game.
but
There's really not many scripted events I can think of. Honestly, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because I have no clue. Besides maybe just being here to drive us crazy.
audio just gonna-
Online multiplayer hack and slash game that's managed to be an unexpected chart topper for weeks on Steam. Earlier this week, players found that by using a careful precision of jumps on the edges of the map contraband, they could drop down this hole in the environment and get out of bounds of the map.
Huh. I've never seen this.
Eventually, they came across a location of rocks in the water that looked suspiciously like the rocks from the character selection screen at the beginning of the game. Now, whenever somebody boots on to play Mordhau, there's a high chance you'll encounter this. Is that Despacito? Okay. Fallout 76. In January, players found a way to get themselves into 76's developer room, where they found the game's only human NPC,
Here it
which
is.
felt very ironic considering it was a huge point of contention that 76 lacked any human characters. While finding developer rooms in a Fallout game isn't really anything new, and this one wasn't found much differently, players were once again shocked when they found themselves getting instantly banned over entry to the room, and then was sent an email by Bethesda demanding that they know how they got in. In some cases,
Jeez.
even requesting a written essay on the merits of
What?
cheating in an online game. This sparked yet another backlash and a string of endless controversies against 76, where debate was sparked over what should be considered off-limits in an open-world game, and that exploiters maybe should be rewarded for the mistakes that they expose rather than shaking them down and stomping them out from playing the game at all. Considering players actually ended up blackmailed by the developer for entering what appears to be nothing more than a test area that could probably have been removed without any difference to the game. For better or worse, this one definitely hits the description of areas that we were never meant to find, though I think it's mostly for the worse. Tower Unite.
I do remember reading about
Tower
that.
Unite is a massive online multiplayer game that launched in 2016 on
Tower
Steam.
Unite.
Soon after release, players found a mysterious tunnel floating out of bounds underneath the tower in the main plaza area. The tunnel appeared to be completely devoid of anything of note, aside from a strange, inaccessible corridor hiding inside a crumbled out part of the tunnel. Then in November, Tower Unite user Computrix noticed hidden in
Yeah,
the
so I
tunnel a
remember reading
strange
that
object
people
was
just got there by
that
accident
wasn't there
sometimes.
before. Even stranger, on the side of the box was the words "Help Me" written right on the side. Apparently another update was released that moved and updated the location to a harder inaccessible spot, with the box apparently removed. Although originally believed to be a link to an unfound alternate reality game, some
Fuck.
feel it may have just been a joke referencing the tunnel's lack of updates, which I somewhat lean towards that explanation when I take a second look at these numbers. Half-Life 2. As I've talked about on my
And
channel
number
before,
2. Ah.
when Half-Life 2 notoriously leaked a year before release, players found a wealth of discoveries the playing public was never meant to find, which included a much darker game. One such discovery was this beta area of the Industrial District, which was surprisingly decorated in much atmospheric detail despite being fairly unfinished.
That's pretty cool.
However, things take a turn for the worse when we come to this window and see child slave laborers working on the
What
sides
the
of a
fuck?
monitoring combine soldier, which is especially weird because I don't remember any children appearing in the final game, though I'm sure someone will correct me on that. Additional thanks to commenter Shady Sam, who pointed out that the beta map Hazard 01 appears to be a fairly normal training facility until a mishap causes Gordon not to want to stay put, leading him down these long, mysterious hallways.
What the hell?
What the hell was that? This spot in particular plays the notorious horrifying Trans 6 audio, which is an audio file I previously talked about in my strangest audio discoveries video. Purportedly an actual recording of a Russian astronaut who died while burning up in a failed space
Oh, I've heard that
experiment.
before. It's
At
awful.
the end of the hall, you'll find the G-Man, who appears to already know that we were never meant to see this area.
Cleverly done, Mr. Freeman, but you're not
Yeah, it's not an
supposed
SCP.
to be here. As a matter of fact, you're not.
Well, it was probably that
Get
before
back
that,
where
but
you belong and
probably just
forget
scary.
about all this.
a lot of SCP stuff is just like something scary that someone put in SCP.
It's gonna be kind of hard to forget that. Get me the hell out of here. God of War 3. Big shout out to Glitcher and YouTuber Findlestick.
I mean,
These
I think
guys
it
been
definitely
finding
is.
crazy stuff in
It's
games
true,
for
but I just don't know if it
years.
was
By
recorded.
far, one of the
Yeah,
craziest
it's fucked up either
discoveries
way.
has to be the strange area he found in the God of War 3 demo. After ripping off the head of Helios and then using it to reveal this door in the wall, you can perform a jump exploit only possible in the demo by doing an Icarus Ascension and then smashing the X button at the top of the jump. Doing so will allow you to grab the top of this door. Normally going through this door in the demo takes you down a dark cavern leading to an intense flying sequence before the demo comes to a close. However, once on top of this door, the player can double jump to the left just right and activate a hidden trigger which will change the ambient lighting of the environment and bring up a prompt. Now proceeding through the door unveils an entirely new environment, where an interesting untextured object can be seen in the ceiling immediately upon entry. Further down, we can now find a huge out-of-place geometric box, which actually looks pretty cool. Fortunately, we can blast this box away with Helios' head, revealing a massive untextured environment that never appeared in any of the God of War games.
What? Huge. Big
Most
chain.
bizarre of all, every time you try to attack an enemy in this area, the camera suddenly flings far to the right and...
The fuck?
Wait a second, was that the Discovery song from Legend of Zelda?
Kinda.
Seriously, I'm playing this on PS3 right now and I didn't add to that. Hold on a second. Oh. I died. It is
Yep.
Legend of Zelda. Unfortunately, every time you die in this area, the game soft locks, forcing you to restart the whole 30-minute demo, which is a huge pain in the ass as it's easy as hell to fall through the environment. With some perseverance and dedication, it is possible to get rather far into the environment. The whole thing is just spooky as hell to crawl through with
What
a
the
strange
fuck?
purple misty setting. Ugh, I don't really like this at all. This place is creepy, yet I felt compelled to buy a PS3 just to play this thing. Unfortunately, it just gets weird.
The only
It gets
God of
more
War game I've ever played is the newest one.
unnavigable as you further venture forward. No one has ever fully
Missed out on
managed to
God of
go through
War.
the environment. So whatever else hilarious or weird beta content this weird area holds has never fully been explored. But you know what? I think I'm gonna be the one to finally complete it. Oh look, there's like a grapple up there or something. Let's do this. I can't sink any more hours into this demo if I'm gonna get this video out at a reasonable rate. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. And if you know of any other areas in
So yeah, this channel's called,
supposed to find,
Odd
let
Header.
me know in the comments down below. Come join the Discord.
Always really like his videos. I think they make one like once a month. Fuck. All this. What do I want to watch? What do I want to watch? Maybe weird animation. Oh, like fucking weird. I've never seen this channel before.
His house is located just near a shortcut.
Okay.
I live in a small town, and it is mostly surrounded by trees and bushes that may give a pleasant view of nature to others, but not to me anymore.
Town is surrounded by
Because of this
bushes.
incident that happened to me 2 years ago. I was in college and was 20 at the time. My best friend Roger invited me for a stayover at his place. On that
Stayover.
day, even my parents were out too, for an event of one of their closest friends. So, the idea of staying over felt like a boon to me.
Be quiet.
After the dinner, I was ready for the stayover. I hopped in my car and was on my way to
Yeah.
Roger's home. His house is located just
Roger
near a shortcut road,
Klotz.
but he has always advised me not to take that road because of incidents like robbery and kidnapping have occurred there in the past.
Damn.
Talking about me, well,
Fuck do you live?
I'm a 6'2" guy weighing over 200 pounds, so I was never afraid of such things. and
62
never
inch?
cared.
Damn.
Therefore, that evening, I decided to go by that shortcut road. Not because I took it as a challenge or something, but just wanted to reach my buddy's place as quick as possible. And I really got to admit, that was one of the most spine-chilling experiences of my life. That road is about 1.5 miles. At first glance, I didn't really feel the need to speed up my car. In fact, I had a smirk thinking about why the people of this town are so agitated when it comes to taking this shortcut. As soon as I traveled half of the road, the headlamps of the car
That's five
brought
too.
out a human figure. And as I was nearing the lights,
No,
exposed a
the clown.
creepy guy dressed as a clown. He was facing towards the side of the road, as if he was looking for somebody or something. After that, he just looked my direction, and then kept staring at me for a good minute or so. At the end of his awkward and bizarre moment,
This fucking
I
clown is
got
all.
a knife all of a sudden. and
Was
started
it awkward?
at my direction, shouting like a crazy maniac. I was truly horrified, and my heart felt like I was about to get an attack as it was beating so fast. I never ever thought that some crazy clown would just abruptly appear out of the blue and come after me like that. In no time, I drove my car off that place so
I never
fast
thought.
that I was almost about to lose my control over it. I never accelerated my car with that much speed and anxiety. As I was getting away from that creep, just for once, I looked back and wondered if he was still chasing me. But what I saw was even more disturbing. I saw that there was another
What?
clown that came out of nowhere. And
He's
stood next to the
multiplying.
other, both glaring at me, standing still. Finally, after reaching Roger's place, I felt pretty relaxed. I decided not to tell
The
about
hubcap
this
of his car
incident
kinda looked like a
because I didn't want
boob.
Roger to get mad at me, as he already warned me.
Anyone see that?
We watched movies, played a few games, and chat a lot, but the whole time, my mind was recalling that nightmarish experience I had. The next day, while I was on my way home, I was still lost in thoughts, wondering about what were those crazy clowns doing
Do it again.
mad at me. And as he already, but the whole time, that nightmare. The next day, while I was on my way home, I was still lost in thoughts, wondering about what were those crazy clowns doing there, and how malicious their intentions were.
What? That was in the car.
We watched movies. This incident.
There's a car. Hey, look at the back.
I never accelerated my car with
Might be a stretch.
that much speed.
Yeah, they only have a couple of videos.
No, I'm not chilling with my phone right now because it's 3 a.m. and I'm not able to sleep at all. Hey guys, I'm
What?
Mike,
Hey, Mike.
and I'm 20. And yes, I often have to spend the night like this. Now, let me tell you how I even got this insomnia thing in the first place. I was a typical shy kid since birth. When I was about to join college, we had to move to another city because of my dad's work. Honestly, I was pretty ecstatic about the new life ahead. At the same time, all those common fears like being bullied, not getting girls, being made fun of, made me quite nervous about my college life. However,
Same.
in reality, I was able to adapt to my new college environment as it wasn't that
I can't
bad.
sleep. I'm too
But the
shy.
actual problem was about to knock on my door. Basically, I'm the only child of my parents, and they were always concerned about my studies and future. Talking
It's like a
about my
Harry Potter
grades,
picture.
Well, they were far from being good. So I decided to get an A and make my parents happy. I started studying very hard.
My
and
parents
didn't
live in a
care about
picture.
my sleep. And after such hard work, my grades didn't come up to my expectations, which really frustrated me. Eventually, in the quest for the A, I kept messing up my sleep routine, and ultimately insomnia arrived. When it was getting bad, I reached the doctor, who gave some tips
that-
rather than medication due
Is
to my
that, I don't know
age.
if insomnia
Although
kind
that
of
helped me a lot,
maybe.
there would still be nights I either couldn't sleep enough or sleep at all. It was one such night where I wasn't able to fall asleep, but luckily it was Sunday. Hours later, I felt quite sleepy and as well as thirsty, so before sleep, I had to refill my empty bottle. When I was on the way to the kitchen, I encountered a weird thing. The light outside my parents' room was flickering strangely, and after getting near the room, my nose caught a nasty smell and that bulb went off abruptly moments later. I was bewildered and panicking and immediately started calling my parents, but they weren't waking up. I waited for them to come out, and just then, my heart dropped to my stomach. I saw that faulty bulb socket was on fire, and the smell turned even more strong. I
Zoom
started
into
banging
my
on
stomach.
my parents' door heavily and couldn't believe what was happening. As my parents came out, I explained them everything. My dad rushed to switch off the power connection and used the extinguisher to stop the fire. Fortunately, it worked, as the fire was small and couldn't spread. We were truly relieved. Upon fixing the
They're just,
issue,
like, all
we came to
stoned.
know that the landlord didn't maintain the electrical system of the house.
Our house
before
was made of
renting.
weed, so we got
couldn't
really
imagine
high.
How dangerous this could have been. Eventually, we moved out of that place after the rent period expired.
Interesting. Fortunately, my dad had made a house out of marijuana, so we had that going for us.
I graduated from college in 2019, and just few months before the pandemic hit, I joined a local firm as an administrative assistant. It was an awesome place to work in for me. Great ambience, good people, and the coolest perk, my decent paycheck. Anyway, during
Decent.
the lockdown, I was lucky that I could hold down the job. Working from home also saved a lot of my time, which otherwise I would spend to commute. That's why I decided to do some freelancing in my free hours and bring in some extra bucks. I began searching the web for potential works where my skill set would fit in. Honestly, at that point of time,
just get
my
bad
knowledge
grades.
about the internet was limited to just the surface web, which is accessible by everyone. I didn't know much about the deep and dark web, let alone the fact that they hold about 95 to 96% of the whole web. But the problem was
What?
that it was taking me an eternity to find my first work online. Days would turn into weeks, but I was still at square one, with 0 offers. One evening, as I was exploring some freelancing articles on the web, an advertisement popped up on my screen.
No,
It
don't
was a
download the
preview
ghost!
of a game that apparently seemed like a survival horror game.
Really?
Although I never have been a person that would crave for games, but this time I couldn't ignore it as boredom and frustration got the very best of me. So I went ahead to download the game and then I installed it on my laptop. I was getting thrilled and goosebumps while I started to play this spooky thing, as it had been a long time. It was tremendously interesting of a horror game, and I was so hooked on it that I stayed up playing quite late that night.
Oh
Within
no.
the same week, I was done with all the levels
She's addicted
and
to
madly wanted
gaming.
to play the next sequence of it. To get a clue of where I would find it, I looked over the About section of the game. And as I knew, it provided me a link to their website, but there was a term though. It insisted me to firstly download a specific browser, which would allow me to
That looks a little
access their
sketchy.
site.
Oh
I
no.
did get a little suspicious at that
Yeah, you
moment,
shouldn't do
but
that.
then I thought this may be a requirement or something, and so I followed up. As I entered their website via that new browser, it kinda distressed me out. In the beginning, it seemed like a dark interface with absolutely
no.
nothing on it, but just then, I
Not
could see
the
some words
darknet.
emerging out of the darkness of my laptop screen, and as
The
I began to
darkness of the
understand what it was
darknet.
conveying, shivers went down my spine. It said, "You can't ignore the evil. You won't escape the darkness. You're trapped here now. Let us see your soul depart." I was regretting visiting this creepy website, and my interest in that game was long gone. All I wanted was to end this thing,
I
whatever
think your
it
eye
was.
is bleaking.
So I moved the cursor to close the browser, but strangely, I couldn't. It made me froze for a bit in fear. Now I knew that the game I played was a bait to trap people into this hell where I stuck myself. Then, out of the blue, a stream started to play on its own. It was showing very bizarre stuffs, mostly someone recording people at public places, clicking their pictures,
Better not get
secretly
fucking
trying to
weird.
find their addresses by following them, recording their license plates. I didn't want to watch any further of it as I was having quite
Someone's
uneasy
getting
of a
tortured.
feeling. The exact feeling when you know something bad was gonna happen and you don't want to see it. Some of those clips were very old VHS footages, like from the 90s perhaps. At
Her
this point,
eyes and the
I was
fucking tears
desperately
look like.
searching for a way to wind this up.
Oh, man.
I saw a tiny close button on the top of the screen.
She is stoned
I
as
tried
fuck,
to click on it,
dude.
and when I did, instead of closing up, a
She
new
got
video
nuggets
would
for
start
eyes.
to play. Ragingly, I kept clicking the close button, but it was of no help, and then I gave up on it.
Stop
There
getting
was
stoned.
literally hundreds and hundreds of these insanely creepy videos on that stream, which was taking away my sanity. However, this one
Right.
video I saw on that stream gives me nightmares and chills still to this day. As soon as I stopped attempting to end the damn stream,
Oh,
it
Ricky
played
Gervais.
this video where there was a man sitting on a chair. He was unconscious. On a closer look, I noticed he was actually tied up to the chair. He looked badly beaten up as his face had lots of bruises and cuts on it, which made it swell. I then heard something dropped on the ground pretty hard and it was all dark again. But suddenly, that wounded man woke up with loud screams. He was shouting for help, begging for his life. I was devastated by that sight as I shut my eyes while trying hard to muffle my scream. I wanted to help that poor man, but just then something shook me to the core. I witnessed a man was standing in front of that captivated guy. He was all covered
What?
in dark outfit, also had a
Say
hat on,
captivated.
and with his creepy voice he said, "Sooner, this will be you." Hearing that, I smashed my laptop against the wall that broke it into two. I cried the whole time that night with a heavy mental breakdown. Months have passed, but even today, that experience disturbs me, and I have developed this fear that someone is keeping an eye on me. I also feel like I'll be harmed or can be kidnapped any time.
Well, that's not good.
But it wasn't the landlady.
Oh, we saw that one.
You'll be sorry for this.
With no arm, a dead hand, had grabbed. Nothing happened.
No, we just watched all these.
Intruder. He asked, but no one answered.
Whoa. Why is that doing that?
Terrified that
Yeah, we already seen that one. We seen this one? Oh, it's hella long. Yeah, we've seen all these.
For.
This one's funny. Speaking of,
What do you come for?
thinks his raid message.
There was an old woman who lived all by herself, and she was very lonely. Sitting in the kitchen one night, she said, "Oh, I wish I had
Who's
some
that dog?
company."
That dog looks
No
fucking
sooner had she
scary.
spoken, then down the chimney tumbled 2 feet, from which the flesh had rotted. The old woman's eyes.
Yeah, maybe
bulged
get the
with
fuck
terror.
out.
Then
Feet fall down your
two
chimney.
legs
You should
dropped to
fucking
the
leave.
hearth and attached themselves to the feet. Then a body tumbled down. Then two arms and a man's head. As the old woman watched,
Just what I
the
needed.
parts came together into a great gangling man. The man danced around and around the room. Faster
Yeah, this
and
one's
faster
amazing.
he went. Then he stopped and he looked into her eyes. "What do you come for?" she asked in a small voice that shivered and shook. "What do I come for?" he said. "I come for you!"
Pretty scary. So yeah, if a body falls down your chimney, maybe just don't fucking irrigate it. Just let it go. All right, this one's amazing too.
Me Tai Doty Walker. There was a haunted house where every night a bloody head fell down the chimney.
Is there like animation?
At least that's what people said. So nobody would stay there overnight. Then a rich man offered $200
A rich
to whoever
man?
would do it. And this boy said
Why?
he would try if he could have his dog with him. So it was all settled. The very next night, the boy went to the house with his dog.
Is a dog standing on a dead
To make it
dog?
more cheerful, he started a
A
fire
dog
in the
rug?
fireplace. Then he sat in front of the fire and waited, and his dog waited with him. For a while, nothing happened. But a little after midnight, he heard someone singing softly and sadly off in the woods. The singing sounded something like this. Me Tai Doty Walker. It's just
I don't understand.
singing, the boy told himself, but he was
What does that mean?
Then his dog answered the song. Softly and sadly it sang. Linchi, kinchi, kali, mali, dingo, dingo. The boy could not believe his ears. His dog had never uttered a word before. Then a few minutes later, he heard the singing again. Now it was closer and louder, but the words were the same. Me Tai Doty Walker. This time the boy tried to stop his dog from answering. He was afraid that whoever was singing would hear it and come after them. But his dog
Yep,
paid no attention.
your dog
and
is
again
kinda
it
spooky.
sang, Linchi, kinchi, kali, mali, dingo, dingo. A half hour later,
It's like
the boy heard
Kalima?
the singing again. Now it was in the backyard.
Yeah, it's as loud as it
The
goes right now,
song was
unfortunately.
the same. Me Tai Doty Walker. Again, the boy tried to keep his dog quiet, but the dog sang louder than ever. Linchi, kinchi, kali, mali.
No, dog.
Dingo, dingo. Soon the boy heard the singing again. Now it was coming down the chimney.
That is a weird rug.
I Doty Walker. The dog sang right back. Lynchy, Kinchy, Kali, Molly, Dingo, Dingo. Suddenly, a bloody head fell out of the chimney.
No.
It missed the fire and landed right next to the dog. The dog took one look and fell over, dead from fright. The head
Dog, it's your
turned and
fault.
stared at the boy. Slowly, it opened its mouth and...
Good ending. We saw this one. Meaty Doughty Walker.
10 o'clock at night, and Sarah was sitting on the couch watching the TV.
No.
This had been her first job.
Yeah, I think we may have exhausted the stores here.
Or write that story or...
What the heck? Okay, that doesn't look good. Meaty Artie Walker. I'm just looking for a video. This looks bizarre.
Before I begin this story, I wish to make it very clear that when this incident happened, I was neither sick nor intoxicated. I know what I saw,
Okay.
and I believe it was all real.
All right, relax, man. I believe you.
I work in real estate, hence, I travel a lot to meet clients all over the world. Generally, I am from Sydney, but I mostly stay in LA if I'm not traveling.
Plane had too many
one time,
doors
I
on
went
it.
to Scotland to meet a high-priority client. I stayed at his place and cracked a big deal. I was on cloud 9 when I booked the return ticket. I generally prefer late-night flights to early morning ones. After searching for some time, I got what I was looking for. It was going to be a 12-hour ride, so I booked a flight of 1:30 a.m. I bid farewell to my client and spent the day in a motel. I couldn't get much
Giant
sleep
parking
because I had a
spots.
huge amount of paperwork I had to finish, but I thought I would sleep on the flight. After finishing my dinner at the motel,
Yeah, man, how many fucking
I left
sausages you eaten?
I arrived quite early.
I mainly
to grab a
ate
seat.
hot
It
dogs
was a weekday and unusual hours to expect.
without a
at this
bun.
airport. I plugged in my earphones and started watching videos on my phone just to kill the time. Apart from, there was an elderly couple and a woman supposedly waiting for the same flight. I was almost hooked up in my phone when I felt a sudden touch on my shoulder. I looked up and saw a woman dressed as a flight attendant standing next to me. She had
There's
a
like
huge smile on
fucking
her face.
demon eyes.
Yes? Sir, your flight is about to take off. I think you missed the announcement. I looked around and I saw... I
Sir,
was the only
you're
one
about to
sitting
enter an
in the
anime.
All other passengers were gone. But my flight was at 1:30 a.m. Yes, it's 1:15, sir. I was going through the passengers list and saw one missing. This is the only flight taking off tonight, so I just came back to have a quick check. I checked the time and, to my surprise, it was indeed 1:15. I didn't realize how time flew away. I got up and thanked her for her kindness.
Because they're in an airport.
Honestly, I was feeling stupid at that moment. I stood up and started to follow her. The entire airport premise was pretty empty. We reached the boarding gate and saw another woman standing there. I was taking out my boarding pass, but she smiled and said, "Go ahead." I followed the attendant into the flight. While walking through the
Yeah,
corridor, I noticed a huge scar.
they're all
on her left
demons.
leg. It was as if some sharp metal-like object cut her leg open. But the scar did seem old. Another odd thing about her was the excessive pale color of her body. As I entered the plane, I saw a surprising sight. The entire plane was filled with passengers. I have been sitting in the waiting area for a long time and I don't remember seeing any of them. The ambiance inside the flight was absolute silence. I mean, it was so damn quiet that I thought for a second, no one's breathing. Every passenger kept their head down and it looked like they were all sleeping. I felt very weird after entering the flight. The attendant whispered,
Very weird. I told you it was going to be anime.
"Take your seat." I would have screamed if I was alone. The way she whispered, her cold breath froze my ear. I saw a third row window seat. I guessed it was mine because that was the only vacant seat on the flight. Beside me sat a thin man dressed in formals. Maybe it was his business tour. The flight felt excessively cold and soon a reeking stench started to occupy the air around. I buckled up my seatbelt and waited for the takeoff. But I didn't see
He's like fucking
in any other passengers. They all sat like
zonked out.
quiet and expressionless. I said to the man beside me, "Isn't it cold in here?" He didn't answer, just sat keeping his head down. I thought, maybe he's asleep or doesn't want to talk. So I plugged in my earphones again and looked out from the window. The pilot started the engine, and the flight got on the runway.
I saw 8 airplanes outside the window.
I could see the ground moving behind me vertically when all the lights started to go off. The emergency alarm went on too, and the plane started to shake violently. A huge bolt of lightning took place in the sky, and a jerk took place.
Has hair and beard. Is Vinny.
Oh my God, what's happening? I screamed in terror, but this time, no one else seemed to freak out. Everyone was sitting like a statue as if they didn't even care. What the hell is wrong with all of you? I started to unlock my seatbelt, but it got stuck. Excuse me, please.
He's controlling the plane.
This flight is gonna crash. Please, we need to do something or else we'll all die. I was panting, and flopping like a wounded bird on my seat when the man beside me lifted his face.
No!
His eyes met. His partial face was
It's
burned,
him.
and his left eye was hanging on his cheek. He smiled, showing his horrifying grin, and said, "We are already dead."
But where'd his beard go?
Laughter echoed through the entire flight. Every passenger lifted their face and started to laugh like demons from hell. Their spine-chilling voices numbed my ear.
Wait. I like this one over here.
Every passenger lifted their face and started to laugh like
I like that guy.
demons from hell. Their spine-chilling voices numbed my ear. I screamed, "Please, let me leave." Just that moment, my seatbelt came off, and I sprinted towards the gate to jump. But the flight attendant came from nowhere.
Of
and
course.
stood in my way. She was looking like nothing before. Her mouth was slit open, and blood was all over her clothes. "We can't let you leave now, sir."
Are you all right?
"Someone please help me! Help me!" I pushed the door leading to the pilot's seat, and what I saw made my skin crawl. 2 headless pilots were controlling the flight.
That's the
and the pilot was
problem.
turning from the front end.
Your pilots don't have heads.
Ground at full speed. Oh my God! Sir, are you all right? A man dressed as
Sir, you passed out at the McDonald's at the airport.
and calling me. I slowly opened my eyes. Where am I? Am I dead? No, sir.
You're
You
at
were screaming and
McDonald's.
passed out on the floor. But why did you come on this flight?
Oh, he's
Didn't
on a
you see
plane.
It was out of order. I got
What?
back to my senses and looked around.
Out of order
This was
flight.
nothing like the flight I saw when I entered.
What?
I found myself sitting on the damaged floor.
It's a dilapidated airplane at the
No
airport.
doubt, this plane is under construction.
What the fuck?
This was my flight. That woman called me saying, "No, sir. This unit is under construction since last week."
What the
On
fuck do you
its way
mean
to
it's
take
under
off, a bolt of
construction?
lightning struck the flight.
It's just like
All
I
fire
fucking
crashed
hooked
on
up to the
ground.
airplane.
No one
Fine.
survived. The flight attendant and the pilot's remains were never found. 70% of the bodies turned to ashes. I missed my actual flight intentionally that night. I still know what I saw was perfectly real.
Oh my
The
god.
attendant's ghost lured me into the flight that night, and I witnessed a group of passengers submitting to a horrible death. I don't know if those haunted remains of that flight are still on that airport or not, but don't ever follow any mysterious person if they come to escort you saying, "The flight is about to take off, sir."
Yeah, I'll watch out for the Vinny with no eye.
Hey guys, I see many of you commenting on my videos.
What did that just say?
Videos.
Okay.
Hey guys, I see many of you commenting on my videos that this channel deserves 1 million subscribers.
I
But I
subscribed.
also see the percent of people who watch my videos.
I'm
that
already
actually
subscribed. I
subscribe to
can't
the channel.
help you, man.
So, if you like the content, want to support my channel, and want to see this channel reach 1 million subscribers, or maybe 500,000
He's
subscribers,
fucking, look how angry he is. He's fucking pissed at you guys.
go ahead, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. It's free, and you can always change your mind later.
I am a 21-year-old petite woman. After spending a long time apart, last year,
Yeah, I think we'll watch another one. I think we watched all of these, yeah.
I'm not really sure who came up with the idea first.
This is Mort. Fatal accident during camping. Isn't that just like giving away the entire... Yeah, these are all like brutal as fuck. Like someone getting impaled on a stick. Nah, that plane actually disappeared into the Bermuda Triangle. It was never seen again. Never again. Really just not much left. What the heck? I don't think we watched this one.
When I was around 8 years old, I transferred to another school in the middle of the summer. Because I was so young at that time,
Why were
I was
you
able
in
to
school?
get along with my classmates quickly. One day,
Or like
all the
before
girls left the
school
class
started?
for their prior engagements, and the boys asked me to join them to go somewhere, saying they had found something interesting. I followed them through the paddy fields behind the school.
Oh,
and there
good.
was a 3-story house that had been deserted a long time ago. School finished early that day, so the sun was still up. The exterior of the house was not too scary except for a broken window.
The hell is this? Is like a... Isn't that like a sign for a business?
Well, nothing here. 5 of my friends and I went inside and we saw the window broken on the stairs leading up to the 2nd floor. I thought it was just an ordinary restaurant when I saw it from outside. But as soon as I went up to the 2nd floor, I could say that it was definitely someone's house. But the weird thing was that the inside was so cold that it was almost freezing, although it was sunny and especially hot that day. And all the furniture was standing upside down. We then came into the main room, and one of my friends found a wallet on top of a pile of furniture. When he opened it up, there was a resident registration card and cash inside.
A what? A resident registration
I
card?
suddenly got goosebumps.
Okay, now you're just
I
like
asked him
breaking
to
and
put the
entering.
wallet down and turned my eyes to the living room for a moment. And it was exactly that moment. It wasn't clearly visible, but there was a woman silhouette in a long
Damn, she's
dress
fucking jamming.
dancing in the living room. She was jumping up and down, swinging her arms from side to side. And that was the creepiest scene I've ever seen before. We were the only people in this house. So being surprised, I looked at my friends and looked back into the living room again. And there was no one there anymore.
We saw a ghost.
Guys, I'm scared.
Fortnite dancing.
We should leave. I told my friends and they got scared too. So they followed right after me. The moment we got out of the main room, the door suddenly slammed shut. What was that? One of the friends tried to open the door, but it didn't open, as if it was locked. Just then, I realized the other one who had found the wallet was still holding it. And we all screamed and ran downstairs. As soon as we were about to go home, someone began to make a fuss about that he'd left his shoe bag upstairs. We had no choice but to decide the people to go back inside by
Leave your
playing
shoe
rock,
bag
paper,
upstairs?
scissors. Eventually, I was the one who lost. So I had to go upstairs with him. But as soon as we went up, we couldn't say any words and couldn't believe what we just saw. The bedroom door was open. We couldn't even think of bringing back the shoe bag. We just had to run downstairs in a rush with a loud scream. The next day, I came back home after playing outside with my friends.
Yeah, don't worry about the shoe bag. What the fuck?
That evening, I heard my friend who took the wallet was in a car accident on his way home by bicycle. Unfortunately, he was not seriously injured. However,
he has some band-aids on his face.
So a few days
I got in a car accident. They had to put a band-aid on my face.
House to return the wallet. And there was something inside. I can tell you that there was literally nothing in the living room or on the second floor when we first went there. However, now there was a baby doll hanging on the light. I will never forget that experience my whole life.
Blinked.
This unforgettable incident happened 6 years ago when I was 15 years old. I live in the Maldives, which is a small atoll of islands on the Indian Ocean. During the holidays, my family decided to go to an uninhabited island for a picnic. I was really excited about it.
Okay, sounds like a good idea.
To picnics like this, so it was not the first time we went to do this. We went with a group of 16 people. 5 of my older brothers, including my mom and dad, and the rest were my friends and their parents.
5 of your older brothers?
When we arrived on the island,
I think it's your family.
Really weird feeling at first. However, I soon shrugged it off, thinking that nothing bad was going to happen. But boy, was I totally wrong.
How do you pronounce it?
Pack my things. I kind of felt that someone was.
I probably never said it right either.
But there was no one there when I looked at it. At this point, it creeped me out a little bit.
Maldives.
I didn't tell anybody, though, because I thought they would make fun of me, and I didn't want that. A few hours later, my friends and I were playing beach volleyball.
Oh, yeah, it is Jurassic Park.
That's when my mom yelled at us to come and
Is it 2 or 3 that starts out like that? I thought it was 3.
Surprise, there was a lady who was covered in blood when we got there. On top of that, there were abandoned houses around the area. I could see the woman was pointing out to a hut, and she vanished as soon as we went closer. What the heck? No one dared to go inside, except my dad and my oldest brother. They eventually decided to go investigate, and what they saw in there was... it literally made my brother wet his pants. They jumped out from the hut, and both shouted, "Get in the boat quickly!" We couldn't ask about it. All we knew that there was no time to waste at that moment. Although we couldn't pack all of our stuff, we had to escape anyway from this horrifying situation as soon as possible. All the people sat in the boat, and my dad started the boat and drove away. I then accidentally gazed at the island, and there was the same lady's figure standing on the seashore, smiling at us. And I could hear my best friend's mom crying. She was yelling and kept saying like this, "It took my husband."
I could hear my best friend's mom crying. What?
And really felt bad for my best
Oh,
friend
yeah,
at
she
the
was there.
same
Okay.
time, who was crying at the side of the boat.
Your fucking dad just got killed.
To our island.
No, we're just gonna leave him.
That day, my dad and brother described what they had seen inside.
Look fucking-
as a demon-like figure, which had long claws.
All right, that looks kind of cool. I
sharp
like that
horns,
guy.
and bloody red eyes with a skinny body. After we reported to the authorities about the missing person,
Snake
we
demon
also
thing,
visited the church to see
but
the
like
priest.
walks. Yeah, I like that.
Father told us that we were really lucky that we got out of the devil's clutches. And he also said that it would have been fatal for everyone if we couldn't escape. A couple of weeks later, we got informed by
Everyone?
the police that they had found 13 dead bodies from the island, including my best friend's dad.
Jesus.
And to my surprise,
Under their
they were
skin.
found all skinned.
Ugh.
From that day, I never go to any picnics on an uninhabited island.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
That's my
what's
rule
going
too.
on the island
I don't go to picnics on uninhabited islands. I'm sorry. Only habited islands. Go to a lot of different islands for picnics. The creature in the closet.
I live in Limburg. That is the most southern province of the Netherlands. I'm 20 years old, and all my life
I don't believe it.
to work
I don't
as a
believe that place
caretaker for
exists.
People with a disability. Just a few months ago, my dream came true.
Your name's Dummy?
And now I work as a full-time caretaker at a living facility in Maastricht. At this facility, my story takes place. The living facility is positioned just outside of Maastricht City. Before the building became a housing facility, it was a
Normie laundromat?
living on that street. The facility consists of 3 houses.
That laundromat's for the normies.
Each one can house 8 people. That makes a total of 24 patients that live in the facility. Each patient has his or her own room, ranging from small to large, to a separate bathroom and kitchen, to a shared
it's a cool
bathroom
name.
in the hallway. I first began working at this facility when I was just 17 years old, as an intern for my education.
Why is your name Dummy Bath?
The story starts 2 years ago, when one of my patients that had lived there for 3 years moved out to live at another facility. His family claimed that the patient did not feel safe in his room, because he would hear knocking coming from his closet. We made our apologies for the inconvenience, but didn't think much of it. 1 month later, when the room was cleaned and disinfected, a new patient
still look kind of
came to live
dirty.
in the empty room. It was an elderly man, who I'll just refer
Rick!
to as Rick. Rick was a warm and kind-hearted man, who always loved talking about horses that he had as a child, as well as his great love for Russian opera. You'd always catch him sneaking into the kitchen to get a snack, or hear him sing opera. I must admit, he had quite a powerful and wonderful voice.
The fuck does this guy do?
At first, he would bid us a good night before he went to bed. But as time went by, Rick seemed more and more distressed. He didn't eat and didn't drink as much as he used to, and he lost weight at a troubling rate. He would sit quietly on the couch, staring blankly at nothing. When asked
Rick!
what was wrong, he would say that he had a terrible nightmare of some kind of creature lurking in his closet. My colleagues and I debated whether or not he could be getting Alzheimer's, and would need testing for it. He had been tested, but nothing came out of those tests. Every night, Rick would scream us awake, and when we came into the room, he'd be sitting
Rick
on
would
his bed,
scream us awake.
trembling and pointing at the closet. He'd say that something crawled out of the closet and joined him in his bed. He described this creature as being skinny, even bony, with rotting meat hanging from its bones. The creature had green eyes,
Whoa.
the same color as his deceased mother, and huge fingers that ended in claws. The creature's face was that of a human skull, those green eyes being nothing more than small lights, and a mouth that was filled with sharp teeth, like a crocodile. The creature would lie next to him in his bed, wrapping its claws around his body. Rick described so vividly how he could smell the horrible scent of decay as the creature opened his mouth.
Rick, maybe you should not live there.
Get out. This is not your home. Rick would cover his ears.
This is how
as he
Rick
said
became
it,
a fucking
and he would soil himself.
evil wizard.
Poor Rick. My colleague checked
And they
the
meant
closet,
Minky.
but there was nothing there.
I mean Morty.
And the only thing we could say was that everything was going to be fine. Fast forward about a month later, and Rick would wake up with markings all over his body. Deep scratches that appeared to be
Like
claw
fucking
marks.
bread.
There were even bite marks that were deeper and more animalistic than any human bite. Rick would not want to go into his room anymore, and he would bring his dinner to his room and place it at the door of his closet. My colleagues would take the food away, much to Rick's horror. He'd say that we would make the creature angry, and if it was angry, it would punish him. I feel so sorry for him. especially seeing the fear in his eyes as we scolded him and took away the plate. There was 2 weeks of this, the same thing happening with Rick.
You can see it. Yeah, he's becoming
My
Rick.
closest colleagues and I were working the night shift one night. We were making our usual rounds, checking if everyone was sleeping and all the machinery was still up and running. That was when we heard a horrible, bone-chilling scream echo through the building.
Oh, is that part of the
scream
end?
Came from Rick's room. We stormed in, throwing the door open hard, revealing a horrible sight. Rick was lying on his back in his bed, while he was grasping for air. He was clawing at his neck and chest, ripping the flesh off, making bloody gashes all over his upper body. His bed and himself were covered in blood, and there was a trace of blood leading to his closet, which was now slightly opened. My colleagues dialed 112. That's the emergency line in the Netherlands. While I desperately tried to stop Rick from clawing, the only thing Rick did was scream, as if possessed, and stared at the ceiling. After what seemed like forever, the ambulance came and took Rick away. A week later, we received the sad news that Rick had died.
Bro, who cares about Rick and Morty jokes? You're really getting all bent out of shape about that?
The blood was cleaned up by a cleaning company, and the room would be occupied soon enough. But even before the room was occupied,
Who cares?
I found another patient standing in the room in front of that closet. "Hey, what are you doing in here?" I asked her as I walked into the room. The patient had stared at me and had muttered,
"This room should not be occupied ever again. It is angering him."
Who's him? I asked with a shaky voice.
"You know who I mean. The devil who lived in the closet."
Okay.
After she said that,
Maybe you shouldn't just like take everyone at their word at this place. Maybe they are all having things happening to
that same
them.
patient moved into the room. I don't know why she was placed in that room, but I do know that she too changed. She can't remember her own name now, and all she does is sit in front of that closet, talking to the devil. I don't know what's going on at my work, but strange things keep happening. Colleagues tell stories of hearing footsteps in the hallways. Others hear whispers in the garden, and one even claimed to have been attacked by a shadow demon. Whatever's going on, one thing is for sure.
Yeah, it's just like an armoire. It's not even really like a fucking closet.
And he's not happy.
Just get rid of it.
Patient living in his room.
At the end. I've never seen the end of the video where they do this before. That's kind of funny. Listen to K-pop music. I respect the hustle, Wansi. Christmas in July.
Last year on Christmas Eve, I was working late. I'm 23. I work in New York City and commute home every day on the train.
Yeah, maybe like shouldn't work in a facility with people who have deteriorating health if you get scared of them all the time. I mean, they probably would be kind of scary, so
My family had already left.
maybe not the job for you.
To go to my cousin's house, so I had to drive alone. After having a quick snack before the half-hour drive, I got back in my car and put my cousin's address into my phone. Halfway through the drive, it started snowing. I got to my cousin's house around 6 o'clock. It was snowing heavily by this point, and I just
Yeah, this is Family Guy.
catch everyone starting dinner.
This is the episode that got cut in season 1. You guys don't remember?
I stayed until around 11 o'clock. The rest of my family left a little.
You must be pretty young.
I stayed an extra half hour or so just to hang out before leaving myself. By the time I was
You remember this?
the ground had accumulated at least 2 feet of snow, and it wasn't even done snowing. The drive home.
That's why it's on YouTube.
The roads were hardly even plowed, and I had to drive under 20 miles per hour on most roads. The roads were completely dead at this point, though, most likely because everyone was smart enough to go home before the snow accumulated.
This is like the most proliferous narrator, I think, out of all these stories. He's like in everyone's channel.
15 on Christmas Eve night, there wasn't a single car or a single light from a store. It was a ghost town. But then I did notice the flashing taillights of one car. It was parked on the side of the road, and the smoke seeping out from its exhaust with the taillights giving it a red tint. As I got closer, I realized there was somebody next to the car waving their hand in the air. I assumed something
Like he
was wrong and they
just
needed
didn't
help.
care.
So, me being the good Samaritan I am, I pulled up behind the car. When I opened my door, the guy approached me immediately, barely even giving me time to step out. He was an average-sized man, probably 5'10".
Yo, it's Santa!
Pounds. He spoke in a very demanding voice, asking me if I know anything about fixing an engine. I told him I didn't know much about cars.
Also, why does your car have red smoke emitting from it?
To everything I said. He told me it's fine. He went inside of his car for a second, popped open his trunk, came back out, and told me to just wait by the trunk for a second.
Isn't there like a scary Santa, like from the Hood movie?
He walked over.
Or is that a clown? I think it's a clown from the Hood.
Opened the hood. I couldn't see anything he was doing since the trunk was blocking my view, and the
a good
loud
movie.
wind of the snowstorm overpowered any small noises he might have been making. I put my hand on the back of the car and leaned my body in anticipation, when suddenly I heard 3 or 4 quick and aggressive footsteps in the snow behind me before I was pushed into the trunk. The man tried to close the trunk on me, but I kicked my feet up in resistance.
Santa, what are you doing?
I was able to overpower him and kick the trunk open completely.
Damn.
As I took advantage of the few seconds I had to get out of the trunk, I took out my keys. He tried to grab me now, and I dug my house key right into his neck.
Damn. What, you like slit his throat with a fucking house key? Anime as fuck.
Halfway down the road before he could even get up from his knees. A little further down, I called 911 and reported the guy. I came back in 10 minutes to find blue and red lights illuminating the windows of the deserted stores. The police held him until the ambulance arrived for him. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, Santa's be fucking pissed at you, man.
I got home safely half an hour later and told my family everything. I was still very shaken that Christmas, and this remains possibly the most horrific thing I've ever experienced.
Box. Dude. Why would Santa do that? Why would he do that? The bathroom stall.
So this happened a few months ago. I'm 26. I was at JFK Airport in New York with 5 friends. All of us were about to fly down to Florida to spend the week in a beach house. We had a few more minutes.
I like this like giant group of shadows over here, like
A few more minutes to kill in the
fucking haunted
before we would
airport.
board our flight, and I really had to go to the bathroom all of a sudden. I was baffled to see a line out the door for the bathroom. I noticed a janitor walking by, so I asked her if there was another bathroom nearby that wouldn't be so crowded. She laughed and told me she shouldn't really be telling people, but there was another bathroom past the door she was pointing at, down a narrow flight of stairs and to the left. I thanked her because she was extremely...
He's got the Conan O'Brien pomp, yeah. Or whatever the fuck his hair is.
Door that no one would think to open was a small stairway that led down to a really poorly lit, skinny hallway. It was so narrow that if 2 people were to pass by each other, one person would have to stand against the wall to make room. I found the bathroom right away. The door was extremely heavy and hard to push. Also, the lights were on inside of the bathroom, and it was filthy in there. It was evident that nobody ever really came in there to clean.
Why would you go in there? Then go. Don't fucking
When I go to the
go.
bathroom in public places, I always try to make sure nobody else is around to possibly hear me going.
Just fucking go to the bathroom in a
To
plant.
see that it was unoccupied, I went back into the hallway for a second to take a look down both directions. To the left, there was somebody standing at the end of the hall, in a dark, unlit section of the hallway. It was a disturbing sight to say the least. All I could do was awkwardly pull my head back into the bathroom and try to pretend we didn't see each other. I went into the stall and just stood there biting my fingers for a minute.
Just fucking leave, man.
And of course, it did. I saw the man's black shoes under the stall door as he walked to the stall next to mine.
It's Conan O'Brien from
Then there was silence.
American Dad.
No sound of the man unzipping his fly or sitting down, nothing. I realized I didn't really have to go anymore and went to unlock the stall door. That's when I looked up and saw the man's head peering over the stall, looking at me. I nearly had a heart attack as my screams bounced off the walls of the tiny bathroom. I ran back up those damn steps and out that door, and then casually
Look at his
walked home with
face.
my friends. I was breathing heavily.
So some guy was
I
just.
didn't tell anyone just because it was embarrassing, and I didn't want my friends to make fun of me.
Why would you not fucking tell anyone?
That seems stupid now.
Fucking tell the security.
We went on to have our Florida vacation and all had a good time. Of course, the thought of that creepy man
Oh
haunted me
yeah,
every night.
I always forget about the subtitles. Bad. I know he was creepy and probably stalking people, but I didn't tell anyone. I was too embarrassed. He looked right at my dick. I think we watched all these.
This happened when I was 15 years old. My best friend Anthony wanted me to come over for the night since his parents would be gone all weekend. I rode my bike over and put it in his backyard before letting myself in through his back door. We played basically every video game he had, from FIFA all the way to Call of Duty, with popcorn and other junk foods.
FIFA to Call of Duty, all the
As
games.
the night progressed, we moved from video games
Everything in
to watching
between.
half a movie and getting bored, to doing prank calls at close to 10 o'clock. Anthony made a few calls to different pizza places. When it was my turn, I just dialed a few random numbers in hopes to get someone at their house. On, say, my fourth attempt, I finally reached somebody. A guy with a deep and rough voice picked up, answering with a yeah instead of a hello. Anthony's laughing in the background
He's like-
made me stumble with my words mid-sentence.
Not even calling a
ultimately
pizza
cracking
place.
up into laughter. I had never done a prank call, so I sucked at it. The guy on the other end was silent. I regained a straight face and tried to continue with the call. It went something like this. Sir, would it be alright if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car?
What?
What's your name, kid? My name is Bob. Really? You sure it's not Anthony? It hit me like a brick. I looked up at Anthony, whose face was noticeably full of fear. I hung up the phone, not wanting to be on the line with whoever that was for another second. Anthony, who the hell was that? I asked him. I don't know, he told me. Does your caller ID info display your name or something? No, it shows my dad's name. We hopped on the computer and did some
Maybe it was just a good
research,
guess.
trying to figure out how it was possible to get someone's name through their phone number. It didn't make sense how he could get Anthony's name so quickly. He was way too young at the time to be on any of those personal information sharing websites. We ended up asking a question.
Yeah,
about
Anthony
answers,
Jr.
Since no one had a similar experience. The question turned up no answers. I suggested he call his dad, but he said he wasn't supposed to have anybody
It's
over for
fucking The
weekend,
Sopranos.
so he didn't want to call. We planned on sleeping in the living room, so we just resumed watching the movie that we hadn't finished from earlier.
My dad was Tony
Right
Soprano.
after the phone call had left my mind, me and Anthony looked at each other when we heard his front storm door opening, and then the doorknob to the front door.
Yeah, who answered?
It only was able to turn about halfway before the lock restricted it. Anthony turned off the TV, and I went over to the window to see who it was. I spread the blinds open. There was a tall guy standing outside. He noticed the blinds moving and turned to look at me. I practically threw the blinds back into place.
Shit, his eyes were glowing.
Me and Anthony hid in the kitchen, listening for any more noises. We heard the sound of the gate to the backyard opening, as it was right outside the kitchen window. God damn it, I said.
It was a
Jawa.
Jawa.
Shut the back door. Anthony urged me to run and shut it. I made it to the hallway leading to his back door and froze. There was a silhouette standing outside the back door. I don't think he noticed me, but he was surely looking into the house. He opened the door and stepped inside. I tiptoed to the kitchen and motioned for Anthony to follow me upstairs. We made it to his room as quietly as possible, pulling the door shut to avoid making any noise. We crawled under his bed. He had cloth covering the bottom of his bed, so you couldn't see anything under it unless you actually moved the cloth. The doors downstairs all opened, each one getting closer to the stairs. Thumps finally began up the stairs, and he was right outside the door now. The door to the room opened. I could hear Anthony's breathing.
Is it a clown?
It was too loud. Footsteps moved over to the closet, and then the closet opened.
We'll laugh and we'll play.
Slid around as the fabric of the jackets and coats rubbed against each other. Footsteps moved over to the bed and stopped. I felt like my heart was about to explode out of my chest. Anthony's breathing was too loud. I had to cover his mouth with my hand. Nothing but silence in the room now.
He's fucking choking him
I
out.
laid still for so long.
I had to smother Anthony. It was the only way.
In the room anymore. I moved my hand away from Anthony's mouth and whispered in his ear, "You think we can make a run for it?" He was about to answer when the most disturbing, memory-haunting scream I'd ever heard filled my ears as Anthony was seemingly dragged out from under the bed. I crawled out and saw him struggling with the man. I desperately
It's a
looked around for
Dementor.
anything to use as a weapon. I settled with the screwdriver.
It's from Azkaban.
I hurried over to the man and drove the screwdriver into his back. He let go of Anthony as he let out a scream of agony, giving us time to get the hell out of the house. Running onto the road would give away our position too easily. It would take too long to make it to his neighbor's house. We dove for the tree line in the woods and took cover behind a bush, watching the house. The back door opened as the man stepped outside, looking around the backyard. He then looked out to the woods. I felt his eyes pass me as he scanned through the tree line. It seemed that it was too dark for him to see us. Then, he turned his head back in our direction. I ducked behind the bush. "Joe, he's coming." "What?"
He's
"Dude,
coming.
Get up, we gotta run."
Washington.
He was right. The man was
Washington.
approaching us fast. How could he have seen us? We ran through the woods with the leaves crunching under us, giving away our position. When Anthony tripped over something, I crouched down with him, hoping we had run far enough. Not even 20 seconds later, oncoming footsteps from the direction we were running from came fast. They slowed down only 2 trees away from us as we lay face down in the leaves. Moments later, the footsteps take off in another direction. We waited until we could no longer hear them and took off back in the direction of the house.
We climbed a tree.
While running, over the sound of leaves crushing and my heavy breathing, I could swear I heard leaves crushing from behind us. We made it back to his backyard, into his house, and this time remembering to shut the back door. We were now able to call the police. Anthony stayed on the line with them, while I patrolled the back windows, making sure nobody was out there. It was so dark though, I couldn't see anything. So I did something that seems stupid today. I turned on his backyard lights, and immediately in the distance, over by the woods, I saw him, standing in front of a big tree.
I mean, is that really
He turned
bad?
off back into the woods and
You saw
disappeared out
him
of sight.
there.
That was the last time me or Anthony ever saw him. I would be lying if I told you we heard the occasional knocks at our windows or something cliche. No, that was it.
No.
5 years have passed and nothing has happened. Do I wonder if it was somehow linked to the
We still hang out.
Maybe. Does it make sense? Not really. But yeah.
We haven't
it's just
done
a story
anything
of how
since
me
that
and my
day.
still best friend Anthony almost died during a break-in.
Some say they're still sitting on that couch. Never stood up ever again. All right, we've watched this one a few times, but I'm going to show it for the people who haven't seen it yet. This is my favorite one on this channel. This is Llama Arts, by the way. I just like this video a lot.
There used to be a pond about
This
half a
banana
mile away from my
kayak.
old house that I would commonly go fishing in. It was nicknamed Daryl's Pond. I still have no idea who Daryl was or why it was called that, but nobody owned it, so people would once in a blue moon go fishing there as well. It was usually me by myself, though. I had dug a pole into the ground where I would tie a noose to and from my small
Giant
kayak.
nail.
I'd say it was about 3 in the afternoon when I rowed out to the middle of the pond, the sweet spot for getting a decent catch. There was another person coming out from the trees. I waved at him and gave him a smile. He hopped into a small boat floating by the edge of the
How do you
pond
think you get a
and
haircut
to
like
row
that?
over
What do you
to
ask for?
As he got close enough where trying to speak to him wouldn't come off as obnoxious, I gave him a friendly, "Perfect day, isn't it?" "Yes, absolutely," he said. He didn't say anything after that, and I started to feel a bit awkward.
Can you just like rub your fist on my forehead while you cut the rest of my hair? Like, what the hell?
"So, you come out here..."
Hey, just rub a ball of hair into my fucking forehead while you cut all the other hair off.
"I don't actually fish." "Oh. Well, it's never a bad day to relax on the pond," I said. He continued to row closer to me until his boat collided with mine, creating a big thud.
Anime in the front, party in the
I didn't feel threatened, just weirded out.
That's good.
I was only 24 years old. This guy looked like he was late 40s or 50s. There was an awkward silence. I tried to just act like I was focused on trying to make a catch, but by now that wasn't even on my mind. This guy was weird. I didn't know what he wanted, and I was uncomfortable being so close to him. I felt him looking at me, or at least in my direction, as I faced halfway to the opposite direction of him. I took a quick glance to my right. Yeah, he was staring at me. I decided to be ballsy and
he was
lock
staring
eye
at me.
contact with him. After about 4 seconds, he looked away. "So, where are you from?" I asked him. "Up there." He pointed behind himself, in the direction of the woodsy hill leading past the dirt road. "Oh, you live by Suffolk?" I asked. No, I'm not," he said. "What made you decide to come out here?" I said. "Why not?" I continued to try and uncomfortably fill the awkward silences that kept coming up. His responses were dry. He didn't contribute anything to what was barely a conversation. He just sat there not doing anything with half a smile on his face.
Barely a
looking either at
conversation.
me or in my general direction throughout. I was creeped out. My heart was racing at this point. I'd go as far as saying that I was nervous for my life. We were surrounded by trees in all directions in the middle of a pond. I started to row a bit closer to land, but in a very low-key kind of way, trying to play it off as me just trying to find a better spot to find some fish.
This rope is fucking long.
I saw he was following me. "What a great day, huh?" I felt a shake in my voice. I got close enough to the edge of the pond.
Yeah,
where
just
I
tell the dude to
finally
fuck
said,
off.
"I think I'm gonna call it a day." I turned to see his reaction. He was still staring at me, but his smile was gone now. "I can't let you leave," he said. He lifted his flannel to expose a handgun sticking out of his jeans pocket.
The fuck?
As soon as I could process what I was looking at, I dove out of the boat for land, ran the whole half-mile uphill through
Love the
woods back to my
rotoscoping.
house, and locked every door and window as soon as I made it home. I pulled down the blinds to the dining room window, leaving it open just a crack for peeking outside undetected. It started to get dark out, and I left every light in the house off, still peeking out to the front yard, making sure I wasn't followed. The time came when I finally decided I wasn't followed. I realize now, like you, that not calling the police immediately was a huge mistake. I kept my bedroom windows open to let the room air out. My bedroom was on the second floor, so I wasn't worried about being watched.
Get bass.
About half an hour after shutting the light and falling under the covers, I heard the sound of leaves crunching from outside. I sat up to hear it more clearly. It was definitely something walking around out there. Normally I would assume it was a deer or a bear, but after what just happened, I was still in paranoia mode. I sat up as still as a statue, except for my shaking out of fear, waiting as the sounds of the steps stopped. Hey buddy, you up there? Are you trying to sleep? Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. I felt like 100 pounds just fell directly onto my chest. It was the same voice. I knew it right away. I didn't make a sound. I crept out of the room quietly downstairs to the kitchen and grabbed the phone, practically crawling on my way out to avoid being seen through the open blinds. I called 911 like I should have earlier in the temporary safety of my bedroom. I made sure to whisper into the phone, as I was still hoping that he hadn't yet heard or spotted me. 20 minutes felt like an hour as I sat behind my bed, waiting for the police to arrive and constantly—
Why is the bed just in the middle of the room?
Glass breaking from downstairs, or a thud on the back door, or even just a voice again from down below my window outside. The police did a thorough investigation of the property in nearby woods, turning up nothing. They suggested I stay with a friend or a family member.
I like to
for a
sleep
few
with my
days,
bed in the middle
so
of
I
the
did.
room.
I never heard from or saw the man again, but I still moved a month later. I couldn't deal with the constant fear and paranoia of being watched through my windows. I feel much more comfortable fishing out by the bay now.
But how? But who? Why would they do that? Why would you ever do that to somebody? Someone made an animation for Unsolved. I haven't seen this yet. I wonder if there's more of these.
Smells like
It smells like shit in here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it smells a little musty.
That's what all the places that we go to smell like, dust. Oh, that goes back pretty far.
Okay.
I'm gonna lose my mind in here.
I'm getting the vibes. Do you think on any one of these adventures you'll ever truly sort of have a psychic break?
Like a mental breakdown?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, you almost got there in the Sally house.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen today, huh?
My flashlight went out.
Are you serious? Perhaps battery?
No. I mean, possibly, but I don't know. Do you feel something?
No, there's creaking in this chair next to me. Maybe it's just because it's old wood.
Old wood doesn't creak by itself.
Why this part, though?
Oh, fuck, dude. I feel very weird.
Oh, okay.
Why do you feel weird?
I feel like dizzy.
You feel dizzy?
Yeah, I'm not shitting you. Holy balls, dude. Oh, wow.
What was that?
Your
Did you get
balls.
I did. Holy shit. Oh, man, that was crazy. What the fuck is going on, dude?
Yo, PK Epilepsy. Thank you for that sub, dude.
I don't feel particularly strange. It's not a great chair.
That was pretty good. I guess it makes sense. There's animations for anything. Like, it's super popular, so. I'm surprised I've never had that recommended before, though. I'm gonna watch one more Odd Header, and I might wrap it up or play some Tarkov or something.
Sometimes we come across something in a video game that makes you think, I think I'm going to take a break from video games for a while. Thanks to the many mysteries and discoveries
do that every day.
from the last videos in this series. Today we're diving into the top 10 strangest mysteries and discoveries in video games that still remain unsolved to this
It's Heather.
day. Part 3. Borderlands. Only a few days ago, Dax Marco came to me on my Discord server with a hair-raising claim of something he found on the PC version of the original Borderlands. Normally during the game's startup, a distinctive ambience of wind music and sound can be heard.
I fucking
in the
hate that
game's
2K
opening
starting
screen,
screen
which
so
doesn't
much.
last remarkably long before ceasing on the main menu screen. Dax launched Borderlands from the desktop when he decided he was going to check his Discord messages before becoming too distracted, so he alt-tabbed to the desktop and switched over to Discord. Surprisingly, he noted that the audio from the game's startup continued to play while he checked his messages, instead of the audio suspending as he normally assumed would happen when minimizing a game. After a while, the music finally faded to a close, allowing Dax to finally get some peace in mind while he checked his messages in silence. Of course that didn't last long, as suddenly a completely inexplicable, unworldly audio began to emit from the minimized Borderlands application.
The fuck?
When Dax first told me of this, I really had my doubts, but with the help of my friend's synchronized Charo ensemble, we sure enough found to our absolute surprise that we could replicate
Like Martin
the audio
Short for a
discovery
second.
ourselves every time. And you can see here that the audio is broadcasting directly from the Borderlands app. Curiously enough, if you switch back over to Borderlands, the strange moaning appears to switch over to a completely different audio file. What? Nowhere does this audio appear to show up anywhere else in the game, nor could we find any other mention of this online. And it even appears according to the cutting room floor that the audio from the game is yet to be ripped and fully documented.
Huh.
So if anyone has the tools to do so and wants to take the time to check out that audio file for a clue, you'd be saving us all from being alone at night wondering what the hell any of this is supposed to mean. In Cold Blood. I love this mystery thanks to
In
Brother
Cold
Box's
Blood.
incredible research that he made on my Discord server. In Cold Blood is a now obscure attempt by Revolution Software to break out of their point-and-click comfort of their hit Broken Sword series, trying their hand at an action espionage third-person game. Results were mixed. Brother Box noticed at this point in the story, when you retrieve data off of this corpse, you receive the chemical compound for blue trinethylene on your PDA. Brother Box quickly felt that the compound looked suspicious, having a hunch it may have actually been hexadecimal, and used a hex decoder to unhexify it, confusingly revealing the message, "Congratulations to the EX." As the rest of the message trails off into seemingly indecipherable nonsense, Brother Box sent a message to Revolution Software themselves, and in return received this response back. In Cold Blood was made quite a while ago, and regrettably a lot of the team are no longer working with Revolution. So we had to ask around where we could try to get an answer for you. Regrettably though, we're not sure what the message was supposed to say, and we believe it may be an Easter egg that a scripter put in the game and didn't make a note of. We can keep investigating, but it may prove extremely difficult to track down an answer. First of all, huge props to Revolution for getting back to us so quickly. Except now we're stuck with a mystery on our hands that even they can't answer. Well, hopefully this one isn't completely lost.
Even
to
they
time.
can't
Maybe
answer.
we're just failing to decipher the code's second half. So hopefully someone out there is willing to give it a go. Cause we'd like to have a solid mystery update video one day, wouldn't we? Silent Hill 3. Thanks to Sputnik, who submitted this mystery through oddheader.com, who explains it's an obscure one even for the most hardcore Silent Hill fans. Only in this room, at this location in the alternative Hilltop Center, during extremely rare and unknown circumstances, the normally silent, insane cancer creature in this room will randomly start speaking in a Japanese voice to the player. What? And this is the English version.
I forgot about this.
Random, Heather will even start responding in Japanese herself. Even stranger, if the player were to hit the insane cancer with the maul during this state, you can hear a completely off-tone, ridiculous sounding scream. What exactly triggers the random dialogue has been greatly contested among those who've encountered it. though Sputnik claims they only ever got it to trigger during hard mode while wearing the Princess Heart costume, obtainable after beating the game once and then entering Princess Heart into the costume typewriter. Although Sputnik admits others claim to have heard
I've
it in
never
other
played through
locations
it
without
with
the
the Princess Heart
though this has
costume
never
before, I
been
think.
confirmed. All this is especially confusing because while the game was made in Japan, both versions of the game used the same English-speaking voices, which is highly reminiscent of another rare audio occurrence in Silent Hill 2, where an especially unsettling out-of-place whisper can sometimes be heard when entering room 209. Excuse me for a second, I just pissed myself. No one to this date has ever figured out what the audio actually says, though many Silent Hill theorists are convinced that the beginning part of the audio says, "See my dead wife and come home, do some laundry," which would almost make some sense with the narrative, though barely. To make things even stranger,
come do some laundry.
Translator Jeremy Blostein, who worked closely with the original team, said in an interview with GameSet Watch that he claimed he didn't remember anybody scripting or recording this audio at all, suggesting it was a warm-up take by a voice actor that somehow ended up in the scene. Though noted that would be odd considering the Japanese sound team would have no way of knowing what was being said if it was actually recorded in English, as most suspect. Whether or not either of these horrifying audio messages were actually intentional has been highly contested, and how to replicate both sets of voices to trigger every time still remains a mystery, though really it's hard to get a straight answer on anything when it comes to Silent Hill. Tak and the Power of Juju. Tak and the Power of Juju, if you may remember, was a property pushed for many years by Nickelodeon, first as an overlooked platforming game before later
don't remember this.
overlooked animated TV show.
The fuck is this?
Despite this, longtime Tak fan Floating22 still remembers a discovery he found when he was a kid that still torments him to this day. Submitted it to my website oddheader.com. Floating was at this spot on Old Volcano Island in Chicken Island West when he accidentally fell off this cliff into the water where you're normally not supposed to go as a jellyfish will instantly kill you. Instead, he noticed this hidden cave area inside the bottom of the cliffside that seemingly had nothing to do with the game. Inside, he found a blurry portrait image of, I think, a monkey.
It's like a dog.
It's like a dog from the way it's sitting. And underneath it, a set of indecipherable numbers.
Yeah, it looks like a monkey.
Interestingly, after uploading the discovery for me to see, Floating found they weren't the only person who's been pondering the existence of what they call the Monkey Shrine, as a handful of other players have also found themselves going ape over the existence of the room. I also noticed on TCRF there was a description of an obscure Easter egg on the to-do list, but I couldn't find any hints of what that was referring to. It's still a mystery as to what the significance of the Monkey Shrine is supposed to be, and also why so many people have been playing Tak and the Power of Juju lately. Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 is the fastest selling and perhaps most controversial Far Cry title to date, in which players assume the role of the deputy, who comes to Hope County, Montana.
Yeah, I still never really played this.
Joseph C., who's also a doomsday cult leader who uses coercion and malevolence to keep the county under his control. Hauntingly, shortly after release, Redditor Colby Klaus found if you were drive to a particular fixed region of the map while listening to the gospel or classic rock station in your vehicle, and waited in a spot for an extended period of time, you would eventually hear a rather ominous radio transmission bleeding through the static. The Far Cry subreddit tore this discovery apart, finding several locations across the map where more mysterious transmissions could be intercepted. Some players have even claimed to hear the words "someone, help me, they will get me," and a gun. With some players noting the locations of the transmissions appear to match X's on maps found throughout the game. Many believe it's somehow connected to a rumored Bigfoot discovery still yet to be found.
Yo, Bigfoot is in the game, isn't he?
A random telephone that unexplainably plays a random audio of a weeping woman. Unfortunately, as of this video, Ubisoft has never confirmed the meaning of the mysterious sinister recordings, though if nothing
Must have been before that
definitely
came out.
Midnight Club 3, Dub Edition. Thanks to W the Gamer, who also shared this interesting discovery with me on my Discord server. In Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition on the map San Diego, if you were to go fairly out of your way the intended course, you could find this mysterious and misplaced Dodge Viper off the track that appears even if you set the race traffic to off. Stranger yet, if you drive over this way and activate the 9th checkpoint on the track, the Dodge Viper will suddenly take off from its idle position, flying downward at full speed in a set direction. Looks like the race is on. Let's do this. I feel the need, oh wait, this is Midnight Club, Strangely, the Viper unexplainably veers off in a seemingly predetermined trajectory. Holy It crashes head first into the baseball stadium. From there, players have failed to ever figure out its purpose or anything further involved with the mysterious Viper. I certainly hope it's not a developer reference or a memorial as some players have suggested, cause damn, that would be pretty dark. Spongebob, Truth or Square. Thanks to Salfon Games, who submitted this mystery to me again through oddheader.com. Salfon told me he was playing the game when he found a glitch that allowed him to slip the camera out of bounds of SpongeBob's home, where he claims to have found a mysterious code sitting out in the empty abyss around the environment. Sure enough, once I got the damn FreeLook tool to work with me on the Wii Dolphin emulator, some reason this game's a huge pain in the ass with it, it turned out that Salfon's claims were true. Initially, I thought maybe the numbers were supposed to be spawned in elsewhere, but I truly couldn't find anywhere in sight where the numbers could possibly belong.
Why a B, though?
The selection of numbers is confusing. What would these have ever even been used for? And why are the numbers fully rendered 3D, yet the letter B is a 2D flat texture? I'm definitely suspecting it to be another code if anyone's willing to crack it, though I'm truly at a loss how anyone was ever intended to see this. I wonder what it is with so many Nickelodeon games with unusual out-of-bounds discoveries.
Yeah, Nickelodeon has a lot of weird things in their games like
I'm not
this.
sure if either of them approached the horror sitting just out of sight in Attack of the Toy Bots.
I wonder why. Oh my god.
Persona 3 Portable. 2 months ago, a Redditor by the name PLDT Official made a frightening discovery in Persona 3 Portable. Normally, Persona 3 takes place over the course of several months of the year 2009, with the calendar date progressing as you further through the adventure. However, PLDT Official made the decision to hack the game and teleport to a date that didn't exist in the game, when suddenly he was greeted by these
What?
completely horrifying voices and whispers. What the
What the
No one
fuck?
knows what the meaning of the mysterious audio is supposed to be, as the audio doesn't appear to be used anywhere else in the game. This is a damn weird one, that's for sure. Resistance 3. While riding the boat in Chapter 5 slowly down the Mississippi River in between killing swarms of aliens, players found that they looked into this window at just the
Never
right
played any of
angle as
these
they rode
either.
past. They could snag a very brief glimpse of a mysterious
Oh, that's
figure
sick.
standing ominously behind the shattered window, watching you as you slowly sail by in the distance. This is one of those
The
moments
L
where
Man.
I really wish we had a no clip to get a closer look. But unfortunately, as a PS3 game, it's going to be a long time before anybody figures out how to do that. Unless somebody figures out a glitch to get out of the boat first, which I tried to absolutely no avail. Well, I found a video of 2 players that managed to get out of the boat, but they had no idea how they did it, so that didn't really help.
Yeah, I never
don't
played a
think
lot
they
of
knew
like
what
early
to do.
PlayStation 3 stuff.
Without being able to get a closer look, I'm 50
I didn't have one till
split
way
between
later.
this being an Easter egg or some sort of unintentional placeholder model. Regardless, I'm going to guess it's at least someone's dad, considering how many of the commenters on this channel have seemed to met such a fate with their father. Happy belated Father's Day, everyone. If you
That's pretty funny.
and want to see more content like this, please subscribe. If you notice, a lot of this video is made up of viewer submissions.
Yeah, check out
So if
Oddheader.
you
He's got a really
have
cool
other
channel.
unsolved mysteries or a discovery in a game that you would like me to cover, definitely feel free to let
Got loads of very good videos. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there for now. So I'm fucking starving and I'm hungry. So, oops, didn't see that. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go get some food or make some food, maybe. I don't know. One of those things. And I'll be back tomorrow at some point.